Hi guys, so today I want to start out the reviews for the awesome things that Local King just sent in. They did send in these items free of charge for my use here in the video. And all opinions are my own, of course. So thank you so much, Lisa, for sending these. So I kind of went over them in a sneak peek video, but if you've been watching Lisa's videos, you also have maybe some exposure to what these look like. So this is, I think she called it Calm. It's a beautiful butterfly with the orchids, and this one does have your detail stamp, so it's like an outline stamp, and then we are to color it in however it is you want to do that. And with the combo, there is a matching die set, which is gorgeous. So there's always like more of a detail die and then the outside shadow die, or if you want to cut out the whole thing, or if you just want to cut the inlay, you know, there's lots of ways to play with these. So we will get to that very soon. As far as the background die or stamp, she has several, and I have them here so I can show them to you once again. And I was just kind of going through them, and I thought, well, you know, this one would be cool with it too. I just picked one that I thought would be nice with the butterflies, you know. This one still knocks me out, it's so crazy. So I'm gonna pick this leaf one, and if I use it or not, we'll see, but I thought this one coordinated better. And then there's also this cute little die set. Again, these are all designed for slimline cards, so it's a longer, kind of like a border die. And it has a shadow, and it has also the inner die that you can use, so you can use that however you like. I didn't measure these yesterday, and I forgot to do that, because sometimes I like to measure them so I can let you guys know how big the stamps are. So basically, again, these are for slimline. So this is 3.5 inches wide, which is really great. I mean, the way I size my slimlines, that's perfect. And then it's about 8.25 inches long. So I would assume that means maybe Lisa sizes hers like 8.5 by 7 or 7.5 or something, and then scored. So I normally design my slimline cards to be 8.5 inches tall by 7 inches wide, scored at 3.5. So this works out perfectly for that either way. All right, so what I'm going to do is grab some paper, some ink, some markers, whatever it is that we're going to do to get this looking cool, and I will be right back. Okay guys, so to start with our background, I just have a piece of like stamping cards. It's a little bit thicker. I think this is Crafter's Companion stamping card. Lisa's been using a lot, of course, glossy paper, and these always look like a knockout with glossy paper, but I know a lot of times people don't have that. But she's been using the Kirkland photo paper, which I know you guys had asked about before, and I was like, well, I'm not sure. But it seems to do an okay job. It seems to be a little bit sticky, so I don't know. But that's up to you if you want to try it out, if you have some, because I know a lot of people have something like that. So I have this here. And then I'm going to use quick dry ink and grasshopper, which I always go for quick dries. You don't have to, I don't know why. They're easier to grab here, I guess. And lemon tonic. I just wanted something kind of bright, something kind of like brighter green. And I'm going to put the color down first because this is just a leaf one. I don't really need to know specifically where I want to put the color. So I'm just going to do that. This piece of paper is 8.5 by 4, and then we'll trim it down if I need to. So I'm going to start off again with color, and then stamp it. So that's totally different, okay? So the other thing is with this kind of cardstock, you normally want to do probably use a stamp positioner so you can stamp your image twice, because a lot of times it comes out crisper with glossy photo paper or glossy paper. I'm using just regular cardstock today, so a lot of times you want to do that. But since it's kind of in the background, I'm not going to be too picky today, so I'm just going to go for it. Again, I'm just putting down color. I'm not really trying to be too specific or anything. And I know it's kind of darker in this area when I go to stamp it, so maybe I want it to be a little darker down here. So again, just getting a mottled look. I'm not really looking for anything too specific. Get a little more color down here. So this is a little slightly different way of doing this, because again, normally you stamp it and then you put your color on. But just doing a little different. I normally don't go back over with a lighter color, but I do want to add a little more yellow in here. Okay. And then you can clean your magic mushrooms. I wouldn't just put them away like this, but you can spray them with some water and just dab them with a dry towel, and you're good to go. I'm gonna let this dry a little bit because that was a lot of ink, and then I'll ink up our stamp. That's pretty good. So I am going to use VersaFine ink because this is a nice new pad that Karen sent me. Nice and juicy. Just make sure you have, because I'm only going to stamp it the one time, I'm not going to try to re-stamp it. So again, if you want it to be super, super crisp, and just make sure you're using a stamp positioner. If you're using regular cardstock, normally on a glossy one, it works really well, really quickly. I do want to take a moment though, because this is a larger stamp and then it has some areas that are kind of full. I'm going to use an eraser just to prep it. And you don't always have to do this, but it's better to do this and then have a better image than do it and be like, oh, I should have run the eraser over it, you know? So I'm just really running the eraser over the areas where there's a lot of rubber. And what I mean by that is like a lot of surface that's just flat rubber, right? Just to rough that up, and hopefully it'll receive the ink a little better. These other ones are kind of thin lines, so that's not the biggest deal, but just wherever there's a lot of surface area, you want to get this going. Okay. And then really get those little bits off, of course. Oh, how silly of me. I have a little brush on the other end of this. That would help me out. These are from Arteza. They're basically just erasers for art, right? But it comes in a kit of several, and then it has the brush end, and then it has your eraser end. Okay. Alright. Since I'm doing this one out, I'm like, oh, I want it to be especially ready. So we are going to ink this up really, 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 really well. And kind of like Lisa says, obviously right now I'm going to rub because I really want to get the color down on this. But you see how it leaves streaks? So after you get your color down on there, really just then pounce. So you know everywhere has color, but we're also getting rid of the streaks that you might have created. Okay, and I'm just going to lay this on here. So very carefully. That's kind of why I oversized it too. It's a little bit bigger than things, so I'm going to rub for a good while. At least sometimes we'll take a piece of paper and put it on top just so that your hand, but mine's a little bit oversized anyway, so. If I wanted to, I could take a peek and see if it's... Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I think I got everything. Very cool. And again, that was just a little bit different way to do it. I'm going to clean this up really well, and I'll be right back. Okay, so if you're using StazOn, you definitely want to use alcohol to clean off your stamp or StazOn cleaner. But I just use some water and rub. Okay, I'm going to cut this down to, if I'm doing my card, to 8 1/4 by 3 1/4, and I will be right back. You know, now that I'm cutting it, the stamp itself is about 8 inches already, so I'm just going to do 8, and I'm going to mat it up. So 8, so if I do 3 1/2 by 3, so I'm just going to take a little off of there. Okay. Because that'll mat into something, and I'll just put a different mat behind it to make it a little more substantial when I put it on my card base, okay? So I'll be right back, and we will get to coloring our butterflies. Okay, so I think I've decided what I want to do. I'm going to bring out this stamp positioner just in case, but I think I'm going to just do it in one shot. We'll see what happens. I'm, again, just stamping paper. And we're going to cut it out of this, so it doesn't really matter if it's crooked or whatever. I just want to make sure that I get every part of this down. And I'm going to use, I suppose, my squid ink. Again, I haven't used this one before, but it's all fine details, so I don't think I'm going to have an issue with having to rubber erase it, you know, come back in. And then I think I'm going to use my alcoholic markers. So yeah, I'm going to use my alcoholic markers because this is nice and bright. I thought, you know what, why don't we do it in nice bright colors? So how else you can get that other than with like alcoholic markers? Because I was going to do maybe watercolors or other, you know, ways. But okay, so I'm gonna put this on here. Make sure there aren't any bubbles back there. All right, and then I think I'm gonna use the squid ink, because if I change my mind, I can use water-based things, or I can use alcohol ink markers. So I'm just gonna take the squid ink. Ooh, it's brand new too, it's nice and juicy. So I'll ink this up, show you what that looks like, and then I'll just color them in off camera, just because this isn't about alcohol ink, you know, tutorial, but I have other videos where I've done that kind of thing. And basically you just pick your colors. I'll probably use my tri-blends, and so I don't have to pick other colors that coordinate. It'll just work out. Again, this is a fine line detail stamp, so it shouldn't be that I'm just really trying to make sure I'm hitting every area, because it's a nice big stamp. Ooh, got it. Look how pretty. And again, these are hand drawn, and then Lisa puts them in her computer. Obviously, she gets them made, and pretty much handmade stamps too, if you've watched her videos on that. But look at that. So again, I'm just going to grab some alcohol ink markers. Maybe I'll do a little kind of fast forwarding in the video here so you can see a little bit of that. But I'll be back when it's all colored in. Again, I've never really looked at an orchid well enough to like, what should I do? But you know, you have the inspiration here. You can copy some of this, however you like to do it. And then I painted these pink, but I was like, are they green? Oopsie. Well, you know what? Let's put a little green on here. Just to kind of, I don't know. Why not? Okay. All right, now let's see. I haven't decided how I want to do this. Oh, and the colors I use, they are the new Tri-Blend brushes, but very limited in colors. I'm like, I want an orange, but like burnt orange is like a deep orange, so it's kind of hard to get that going. But I have burnt orange, I use a little bit of gold yellow, the dark red on the very outer edge of the butterfly. Alpine green was for the greenery, and bright pink was for the flowers. And let's see here. So I think what I might do is make an aperture. Well, let me see how well I can see through this. If I can see through this pretty well, because it is a big guy, I don't want to just do this and then... But I want to see something really quickly is if this cuts out completely. I think it does. Okay, perfect. So she makes them so they're right on, so it's pretty easy to kind of see through it and know that if you're in the right spot. Like over here, it looks pretty darn good. Just want to make sure. But again, if you want to run this through a scrap piece of paper so you have an aperture and then you open it up and you know that you're on point, then do that. But this looks pretty darn good. If it's off, well then, oh well. But let me just continue to make sure of that. That looks really nice. There. And then I'll line this side up. And you can kind of see, looking through it, like I can see that's not quite right. So maybe I'm too far over on this side. So pretty. I just don't want to cut anything off that. That looks good right there. Right there. And yeah, I'm just kind of looking at this through this whole thing when I get to over here. I think. Okay. And you know, she has embossing all these nice things, so definitely use your embossing mat to pump that up. I think I'm going to use my diamond press. And I think what I'm going to do is grab a piece of foam and I'm going to run it through twice. Now, diamond press does have a little something coming up very soon, hopefully, that will help us cut longer things like this. Look at that. Perfect. For right now, I'm going to run this through, and then whatever's extra out here, I'll run it through also. So for now, whatever fits, I'm going to run it through. And then whatever stayed out here that didn't get cut, I'm going to run through, but only a little bit. I don't want to overlap it too much. So just that little bit overlapped a little tiny bit is what's left over. Oh, this looks so pretty. Just with that dye on there, you can see it's going to be gorgeous. All right. Look at that. Oh my gosh. Now remove this tape and release that. Oh my gosh, gorgeous. Now I'm going to manipulate this very carefully. Again, Lisa always has a tip of just running a dryer sheet over this before you go. Oh, I'm a little bit off. Oh no, here we go. Again, I probably should have made myself an aperture, but I'm not too worried about it. Look at that. Actually, it's a little bit off. It looks like a drop shadow. Not too much is missing, you know what I'm saying? So that's not bad for the first time out. But again, I'm running through a piece of scrap paper like this, right? And then now you have the scrap paper that you can see exactly where you're going to cut, and then you lay your die back down. Okay, I haven't decided if I'm going to put anything behind it. It's kind of pretty the way it is. If I put a liner behind it. Oh, that's the other thing. If you don't want to do the, what I just did, and then it gives you the embossing, and I think, well, you can do that too. But if you don't want to do that, you can just use the outline die, which you go like this. And then you would have the outline. Okay? Let me think about what I want to do and how I want to layer this up, and I'll be right back. So I literally just came up with something. We will see if it works out. So I have a black base to go behind that, or mat, should I say. So this is 3 1/4, I believe. Yeah, 3 1/4 by 8 1/4, which is initially what I was going to cut this top one, but I didn't. So this is 3 by 8, 3 1/4 by 8 1/4. And my card base, like I'd like to do my standard slim lines, is 8 1/2 by 7, and then you score it at 3.5, right? So we have an 8.5 by 3.5 inch card base. But today I'm going to do something a little different because I want to use that border. But if I put this border right on there, it's going to be too busy. So what I'm going to do is something a little bit odd. So this is 8.5 by 9, okay? By 9. So on the 9-inch side, I'm going to score at 1 inch. Very carefully because this is Recollections paper and it can tear. At 2 inches. And at 5.5. So when I score at 5.5, that gives me my 3.5 inch slimline. So I'm going to fold this one back. So that's our card base. Score this one up. And then score this one back down. Okay. So I know this is kind of funny, but it makes like a kind of like an easel card, but it has like a little area there, like a step. I don't know, however you want to see it. And I'm going to stick this down back here. Let's use I'm just going to lay that out and nest this in here. I'm going to take this guy. Okay, and then I'm going to layer this on here, but not quite yet because I want to do something with this here first. So on here, what I think I'm going to do is just cut out our little guy and maybe in black. So again, you have the outer and you have the inner part. And you can cut out whichever ones you like. I think I'm just going to do, well, you know, maybe I'll do both. Let me grab some paper and see if I do both or if I'm just going to do the one layer. I'll be right back. I think I am going to do both colors. I'm going to do this, the outline in black, just to echo the black that we matted up before. And then I'm going to do this one in gold matte mirror. Okay, I'm going to run it through my Gemini just so I can be done with cutting it, because instead of cutting it twice, you know, on the marquee for now, I'll be right back. So I just cut those out twice, or at the same time. I think there's enough pressure to do the embossing, so I'm not going to run it back through with the rubber embossing. I can see how it's popping out. And I promise you, almost promise you, pretty much promise you that Marquee is, Die Press is coming out with something to help you cut longer dies, okay? So this can all be cut in the Marquee either way, like I showed you, just run it back through on the portion. Some people put two together, not that this is about the Marquee, but let's say you have this one and then they bring in another folder on the other side and run it through together anyway. So you can do that right now. But let me get these guys going. To be honest, I was like, okay, you know, I thought it was going to take a little time because they are longer and they are bigger stamps, right? So you're gonna do more, but it worked out really well. Just like, you know, all the other Local King rubber stamps, they're great quality and they worked out very, very well. I'm gonna pop this out a little bit at a time. I don't want to bore you guys, so I'm just gonna push it like this and I'll be right back. Okay. So I'm keeping an ear out for Miranda. She's in school right now, but they're supposed to go back in person next week. Just a couple hours a day, Tuesday through Friday, and I want her to start doing things more on her own because she relies on me a lot to repeat things, if they have to spell words, you know, things like that, and I have to say it over and over and over, and I'm like, you can say it to yourself, and she's like, no, you say it. So trying to let her get a little independence, but there we go. Okay, I'm doing this a little bit at a time, like this portion here. Sorry, I was going to say something, I got a little frog in my throat. I was going to say that looks so pretty, and it was like, argh. Okay. Oh, gorgeous. Yep. I like that right there. All right. So, you know what, let's go first with this guy. Now, this one has little areas that do pop up. So I'm going to go through and find all those areas, which just makes it more fun. And I think I'm going to 3D glue gel this guy up to just have a little more dimension. We love dimension. Oh, this one, I guess you could even have him floating a little bit too if you wanted, right? But I suppose it depends on how you're going to deliver this. If you're putting it in the mail, that's probably going to flatten out anyway. But you can lift them up like that. Let me get some 3D glue gel. And hopefully this is ready to go. Does it need to be poked a little bit? Okay. Of course something fell. So thank you so much, Lisa, for sending these. These are amazing. I know a lot of people are getting to Slimlines now, especially. I'm one of them. Been trying my hand at them, so this is really, really great. And I'm gonna put that here, so it's just a little bit popped up. I'm not squishing down too much. There's a little bit of dimension there. And then I suppose if you wanted to, you can also get dimension on this one, but it already has its own dimension. So I'm gonna just put some glue on those bases. Just down here, it looks like it's touching mostly down in this area. All right, I'm gonna let that dry and I'll be right back, okay? Guys, so this is my card, a little something or more artistic, really fun. So of course when it's flat, it's gonna look like this, right? When they pull it out of the envelope, and then you can put your sentiment here or wherever. I mean, if you still want to put it up in here, but I think it would look nice down here somewhere, whatever that sentiment is going to be. And then once they have it, they can open up their card and display it like this. And hopefully you can kind of see that it's gonna look like that. So pretty. Thank you so much again, Lisa. And thanks, guys. I'll have the links in the description box. I think right now, it depends, I guess, when you're watching it, they're still available for pre-order, and then they're going to start shipping soon, hopefully. So I'll have that information in the description box. The link to Lisa's YouTube channel over there at Local King Rubber Stamp, and then obviously the link to Local King Rubber Stamp. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope that gave you a little fun, a little something different to do. And I'll see you guys at the next one. Bye now.